and welcome back, guys, to episode 8 of my F1 1990's career mode, guys. And today we are here for the Hungarian Grand Prix. And if you guys did miss out on the last episode of this series, guys, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. It was a brilliant race at the German Grand Prix, very, very exciting. And spoiler alert, if you haven't gone to that video already, we actually were able to win the German Grand Prix. My first win of the season, which left me comfortably up in P3 overall. But today we are here at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Actually one of the few circuits I'm not a fan of between now and the end of the season. So, you know, if we can't get a good result here, hopefully, you know, we can still get some good results right towards the very end of the season, guys. But unfortunately, obviously I don't do qualifying in this series for people that are new around here. I just jump straight into the races on the grid, and unfortunately, therefore, that left me down in P8 for the start of this race. But just doing a few little setup changes, you know, trying to get the car more, you know, extreme setup for the Hungarian circuit. You know, it's obviously very low speed, high downforce kind of tracks. You know, I was up in the rear wing and the front wing, shortening out the gears just a little bit, you know, try and give myself a little bit of a helping hand, guys, starting from way down the order. But ready then for the Hungarian Grand Prix, guys, and hopefully we can get off to a nice clean start for this race. But here we are then on the grid, ready for the Hungarian Grand Prix, guys. It's 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, and 5 lights. And it's lights out, and away we go. And off to a very, very decent start there. Jumping Jean Alesi almost instantly there. Can hear all the old engines roaring as we're going to try and have a look past Jody Scheckter already. Before we even get down to turn 1, I'm going to have a look down the inside of Alain Prost there, as well as a couple of other Williams drivers there. We somehow squeeze up the inside of Eddie Irvine there through turn 1. You know, he just sort of gave me the room when he really didn't need to there. But we move up to P3 of this German Grand Prix after just 1 corner there. So, you know, that's been a very, very ideal start for me in this Grand Prix. 7 places made up, but unfortunately I think my teammate Michael Schumacher has unfortunately fallen away down the order there as we run a little bit wide through turn 4 there, guys. But coming to the end of lap 2, and unfortunately, you know, Mansell and Hill, surprise, surprise, were just so quick in the early stages of the Grand Prix. I was pushing as hard as I possibly could, and unfortunately the gap was already 1.4 seconds to Nigel Mansell up ahead of me there. And I was kind of hoping at this stage, you know, that him and Damon Hill could really try and put each other under a lot of pressure during this Grand Prix. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see if that does come to fruition further on down the stages of this race, guys. But for me, at the moment, you know, we were pulling away from Eddie Irvine, losing a bit of time to Nigel Mansell up the road. But come lap 7, you know, we've basically just been in our own little bubble. Mansell now 5.5 seconds up the road, and by the end of this lap, it was time for me to dive into the pit lane for my one and only pit stop of the race. The tyre wear really not too good around this circuit for myself as we come through the pit lane here, just taking it a little bit cautiously there, trying to make sure we don't make any mistakes. But we can only hope that, you know, we get a nice clean pit stop there. No one else in the pits at the moment, which should only help me out. But just about now to dive into my pit box here. You know, ideally, as I said, a low time pit stop. You know, we could actually get undercut by Eddie Irvine here on this lap, so we need to make sure we've got a good out lap as well. But that's been a very clean pit stop there. A little bit of wheel spin on the exit of the pit lane there, but unfortunately we've got to come out just behind Jean Alesi there, as well as a couple of other drivers there. Really not what I needed at this stage of the race. You know, we either need to try and hope that these guys push around this lap, or, you know, we can just try and carve our way through these guys. But even in the dirty air, especially with these classic cars, you know, there is just so little turning from the front end. The cars just have such little mechanical grip. It's kind of painful, I won't lie, you know, sometimes. But I think that's one of the brilliant aspects of driving, you know, a car like this that is so different to the modern day Formula 1 cars. You know, it's far more like really driving a GT car in comparison to, you know, what we're typically used to today. But still, on the gearbox of Jean Alesi here as we dive it through the second sector here. And obviously everyone knows Hungary is just like Monaco without the barriers, impossible to overtake. And coming through into the final sector there, get a nicely good run out through that 4th gear corner there. But down into the final sector, my radio engineer there just telling me that we are much quicker than Jean Alesi. And to be honest, I'd be a bit worried if we weren't. But we get right on his gearbox through the final couple of corners there. But luckily for me, He now dives it into the pit lane there on the end of that lap. And hopefully, we can try and get a good idea of where we are in comparison to the rest of the field there as we come down past the pit lane here to end lap 8 and move to the halfway stage of this race. And we're up to P7 once again there. Irvine currently leads the way, but I think, obviously he has not made his pit stop yet, as well as the fact that the Williams cars have of Hill and Mansell. I'm not too far behind them, but, there's very little chance now that I'm going to be able to beat those guys as we dive it through the final sector once again there, though. And now we're stuck in the dirty air of Ralf Schumacher there as he parks it massively early in towards the third last corner there. Not exactly going to help my cause there as I give him a tiny little bit of a punt there. Just braking so early on that worn set of tyres. He then dives it into the pit lane on my outside there. A bit annoyed, that he held me up so much. But hopefully, as we come out of the final corner, that hasn't cost me too much time there. Having a look at the top left, and we do hold on to P3 in the Grand Prix. A good, a couple of seconds ahead of Eddie Irvine there. So, him trying to stretch his tyres far too far has really not helped him out there in the long run of this Grand Prix there, guys. But Mansell and Hill still lead the way very comfortably over myself. But we've got a nice little window to Eddie Irvine there. But unfortunately, that little window by lap 16 was completely gone. Eddie Irvine on the fresher set of tyres, able to come straight back up towards there. He's going to have a look down around my outside in towards turn 1 there, but we're ever so slightly later on the brakes there. Take a lot of curb through the corner, but we hold on to P3 for now in this Hungarian Grand Prix there. But Irvine, he's piling on the pressure with that fresher set of tyres, and you can just see the understeer through turn 2. This Ferrari really struggling to create the downforce that it really needs in these latter stages of this race. But Irvine thinks about going for a move up the inside through the next corner there, but unfortunately for him, he has to back out there. As I was on the racing line, and I'm not afraid to turn in there if he's not willing to back out. Obviously, if he was parked it there entirely and he had most of the car alongside, then, maybe I'd feel a little bit differently there. But skipping on to the end of the final lap of the race, Irvine still piling on the pressure just behind me here, but Damon Hill is going to be able to come through to take home another race victory in this F1 1990's career mode, guys. Nigel Mansell comes through in P2, but as we come through the final couple of corners of the race, is Eddie Irvine going to be able to get the jump on me? He's all over my gearbox as we dive it through the final corner here, but now it's just about trying to get as good drive up to the line as we possibly can, but unfortunately for him, we hold on to P3. So in the end there, we do still hold on to P3, but just look at how much quicker Nigel Mansell and Damon Hill were. 25 seconds behind by the end of that Grand Prix. It was very much a two-man show between the pair of them there. But from P10 on the grid, we made up basically all our positions at turn 1 there. We got a bit lucky off the start, found a bit of a gap for myself, and we managed to come through there. But, we're still P3 in that race, P3 in the standings. We're still able to pull away a bit more of a gap to the cars behind overall in the standings, guys, there. But Damon Hill won the race ahead of Nigel Mansell and myself, rounding out the podium there. Irvine 4th, Jacques Villeneuve up in 5th place there. My teammate Schumacher did end up recovering to 6th place there on the whole, but not exactly what he would have wanted there. With Alain Prost in 7th, David Coulthard in a very low P8 there. He will be a bit disappointed with that. Ralf Schumacher 9th, Jean Alesi 10th, and Jody Scheckter round out the field there. But Ivan Capelli, unfortunately, not able to make it to the end of that Grand Prix there. So once again, that will be 0 points for him overall in the standings, guys. But hopefully, we can have a quick flick over to the driver's standings. And I obviously still hold on to P3 at the moment, but we're a long way behind Damon Hill and Nigel Mansell now. 57 points behind Damon Hill there, and I was 27 points behind Nigel Mansell there. So, he is still catchable overall, but Damon Hill is running away with it whilst he's got the chance. We've got a nice little 14-point gap over Eddie Irvine just behind me as well there. So, that's giving me a little bit of a helping hand there. But looking at the constructor standings, and we still just about hold on to P3 at this moment in time, guys. But hopefully, you guys have enjoyed this F1 1990's career mode, guys. Do not forget to like, subscribe if you're new around here, ready for the next race at the Belgian Grand Prix. But as I said, hopefully you've enjoyed. I will see you next time for a brand new video.